Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, a security guard tailed Amanda Gorman and asked her whether she was staying in that area. Pretty much a case of racism. Now, many of you may be knowing who Amanda Gorman is. Now, for some of you who do not know her, she's the girl who gave a poem at Joe Biden inauguration day when he was swearing in as the president of the US. But it was one of the special days that made her get to the limelight. Some other people didn't know exactly who Amanda Gorman is, but it was on this day that, of course, it rose her to stardom. Precisely, I may say that. But she's been doing, of course, poetry for a while now. This did not only end at that day when she gave the poem. Of course, many looked at her as an icon. People started already proclaiming her as an icon. After this poem, Amanda started getting different invitations for her to go and present poetry in different places and in different platforms. What stood out the most was when she was invited in the Super Bowl to go and give another moving poem that, of course, many considered such a moving poem from Amanda. But you know, coming from Southern California, especially Los Angeles in particular, that many have known, of course, for a number of crimes that always happens. But this time around, it was different. It was pretty much like of racial profiling that Amanda came out today. Let me just get it for you. This is how it was on Twitter. She said, "A security guard tailed me on my way back home tonight. He demanded if I lived there because you look suspicious." Those were on Amanda's words. "I showed my keys and buzzed myself into the building. He left, no apology. This is reality of black girls. One day you're called an icon, the next day you're a threat to the community." Now those were the words of Amanda Gorman that someone, of course, tailed her. They were demanding to know. Someone called Jeremy was asking and saying, "Where were you walking from that the security guard made the informed decision that you were suspicious?" You know, someone from CBS LA and the assignment desk asked Amanda, "Can you DM us with the details about this incident? We would like to investigate and report about what happened." You know, someone else called Robin Karcher went on and said, "Amanda, one of the things they teach us is self-defense to your face, and the attacker, call them out. You are the strongest speaker I've ever heard since Barack Obama. You have the power in your voice. Face them and tell them out." You know, people went on, another one went on and said, "If you walk alone, always make sure that you have a 901 and pretty much ready to hit the other one on your, on your phone." Different comments kept on popping. Another one came on and said, "You can also use your voice assistant as an emergency if it's safe to do so. Hey Siri." I mean, some other people just made it as a joke, you know. Someone else went to say, "Unfortunately, our experience tells us that efforts like that can get you killed. It doesn't matter how true it is. Notoriety doesn't transcend system racism, you know." I hope you call the cops and his employer. If you haven't, you should. There are no excuses for that. Here in, you know, like people from South Africa also reacted. Someone from South Africa was saying, "In South Africa, though the whites took control for so many years from the native pops, I'm helping raise money for that." Now, all over the world, people are reacting to Amanda Gorman's comment that he came up with. And now we're entering the weekend. Probably we may get to see some of the investigations being done because we've seen news channels already going there. And also, maybe she's reported to the Liz manager. Maybe the CCTV cameras, you know, could try and track down who exactly this security person was who was trying to track down on Amanda. Now, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider doing that. But also, let me know what you think about Amanda's reaction down on my comment section here.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. In the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is hours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So, while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the west. We will rise from the wind-swept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked south. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we